Hello, everyone. Welcome to this video podcast special for AAPI Heritage Month. And today I'm with my good friends, Joyce and Lily, and we're going to talk about everything AAPI. And let's start with our name, pronouns, ethnicity, where we're from, our school, whatever you want to share.
All the stuff.
All the good stuff. I'll start. My name is Alfonso Mateo. He, him, his. I went to Emerson College with them for film and screenwriting, and I was born and raised in the Philippines. I'm Filipino, and yeah.
Okay. I'm Joyce. She, her, hers. Also, obviously, Emerson College as well for VMA in editing. I am Korean American, and I was born here, so I'm first generation here with my parents. And yeah.
Jersey. You were born in Jersey.
Oh, and I was born in New Jersey. Yes.
I'm Lily. She, her, hers. I'm from St. Louis, Missouri. I'm a transracial Chinese adoptee, and I went Emerson journalism. We were
Nice.
2 years ahead of you? 1 year ahead of you?
I think
1
1
year.
year.
1 year.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
So since you guys know us already with those information, let's jump into the first question, and that is, what part of your heritage or your AAPI background you're most proud of? I know it's like a loaded question because it's, you can go talk about the culture, the food, film and music scene, the country itself, or like whatever you want to talk about or whatever you're proud of. But
I'm not proud of China. I'm just going to put that one on the record.
get it across now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. So you sent us the questions ahead of time,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
Joyce and I were talking about them last night because we were like,
Right.
what are you going to say tomorrow? And we both have very different experiences. We're both different, or all three of us are very different ethnicities.
Right.
So our answers are really interesting because I was telling Joyce, I don't have a background, or I wasn't raised as a Chinese person.
Right.
So it's something that I've felt like I've always had to teach myself and go out and find and educate on like what it means to be Asian, what it means to be Chinese, and things like that. So I personally identify more broadly as Asian American because I understand what that collective experience is like.
Yep.
Versus what I know what a Chinese person knows. So that's what I was thinking about when I was thinking like, what is my AAPI background? Because I really had to just Google it for a lot of it. But for the so that journey has been at least like past 10 or so years or whatever. And I guess so my answer is I'm really proud of our community's ability to uplift one another. There's a lot of like discussion and like, discourse in the community because it's a lot of people and a lot of identities. But when you find the good or like what works for you, it's incredibly tight knit, and we just want the best for each other, and I think that's really cool.
That's a good one. That's a good answer. No, because I was doing an interview with Lucas earlier today, and his answer was being Filipino American. And then we went into a whole discussion of Filipino Americans versus just Filipinos. Because for a very long time, I was just identifying as Filipino because I wasn't a U.S. citizen, so I'm not Filipino American. So, but when I got my citizenship like 2 years ago, I officially became a Filipino American. So I never really thought of the difference between Filipino Americans versus just Filipinos, and I didn't think the distinction was important. But throughout the years, especially at Emerson College, I definitely understood why it's important to talk about the two, because a lot of Filipinos, or I'm sure like Chinese natives and Korean natives would sometimes alienate the ones who were born in America for, say, they're not fluent in whatever language it is, or they don't know anything about the culture because they were raised in America, they're westernized, blah, blah, blah. But it really shouldn't matter because it's in your blood, you know, and you can be proud of it. So, yeah, no, I like how you talked about being Chinese American. Yeah. What about you,
I feel like
Joyce?
for me, I was about to say, I feel like your answer was so, like, eloquently, wholeheartly of just, like, the whole collective, like,
I've thought
Asian
about it for 10
American
years.
identity. Yeah.
I've had that answer for 10 years.
For me, it was hard to pick, like, a specific aspect of, like, this is why I'm proud of being Korean American. Like, I think the first thing that came to mind is just being proud of the culture itself, because growing up, and I'm sure a lot of people experience what I'm about to say, of just you're put into a position where you kind of want to blend in and are embarrassed sometimes of certain traditions or aspects growing up in a Korean family or in another Asian family. And it took a very long time to realize that I was, like, embarrassed of, you know,
Right.
growing up Asian American, and I definitely think, like, going to Emerson and like joining Asia, which was our club at the time of, you know, being part of eBoard, helped me find a deeper appreciation of my identity and being Korean American. So yeah.
No, I agree. I think for me, what I'm proud of is just being from, like, the island of the Philippines and having all of those aspects, because, you know, I was born and raised there, and growing up I lived in a village where it's really, like, a tight-knit community, you know, and when someone needs help, anyone, no matter, you know, if they're, you know, rich or middle class or, you know, lower class, whatever class they may be, they're willing to help you. So it's like Filipino, not all, it's, you know, I'm not generalizing, but Filipinos are known for being hospitable and just, like what you said, like, helping one another and uplifting each other when someone is in need in our community. And I think that's the aspect that I'm most proud of for being Filipino.
Nice.
And also our food, like,
dude, the lack of Filipino food in Boston is a tragedy.
There's literally
There's
nothing.
none.
Yeah.
I'm really sad about it.
I mean, there would be, like, one or two, like, items on a menu at a random restaurant, but that's it. There's nothing.
There's nothing.
And the
out
closest,
here.
like, Jollibee is, like, 4 hours away.
Dude.
Really?
In New York City.
Yeah.
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 So, yeah, it sucks. And earlier today, we were talking about how there's not a lot of Filipinos in the East Coast in general. But when you go to the West Coast in California, it's like
It's a huge population.
one of the biggest population, like, immigrant population in California, which is very fascinating.
Yeah.
And I'm sure it's, like, you know, it deals with a lot of things, like, you know, immigration, why they came from the Philippines and chose California, and like, I know there's a lot of factors that goes into that. But yeah, we can move on to the fun part of this podcast, and we can talk about our favorite in terms of entertainment. So we can start with our favorite API movies.
Cool.
Yeah.
For me,
You can give, like, 1, 2, 3, whatever.
okay.
I have 3.
Yeah. It's hard to, like, narrow down for, like, favorite entertainment, whatever.
It's hard, yeah.
But the first one that came to mind was, I really like The Farewell a lot. I think I just related a lot to the story of being Asian American, and oftentimes I do go back to Korea and spend time with my family, and I think they captured well of, you know, obviously you share the culture and there's a lot of similarities there, but there's a lot of times where you still feel othered because you have partially this, like, American mindset as well, and it doesn't blend well with the family that grew up in Asia, and so sometimes there's like that clash, and it can be hard to relate sometimes to like my family in Korea.
Right.
Yeah, I think they did a great job kind of portraying that in the film.
Yeah.
And
I feel like
Awkwafina did a good job.
Awkwafina was that character, you know.
Yeah.
She was
Yeah.
like, I'm pretty sure at one point in the movie there was a point where they discussed like being westernized.
Yeah.
They definitely
And-
do.
yeah.
I'm pretty sure.
Yeah. No, I like that point. What is that your only movie for?
That one, and then the second one that came to mind was Turning Red. I really enjoyed it a lot too.
Cute.
Yeah.
Cute.
Yeah, it was just a very adorable movie, and it was very fun seeing, just like an ordinary like Asian kid kind of
Yeah.
living her life, and so
It was cute.
It was very cute.
Yeah. It was very
Mhm.
cute. I like that one a lot.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm under contractual obligation to mention Crazy Rich Asians. I watched that. I've been paying attention to that project ever since the movie was announced back for us in high school. So like 2013, 2012. I don't remember. That was when it was announced.
Well,
I read
it's way back then.
it was way back then, and it was a big deal then. I read the book. Book is mid. The movie is so much better
Really?
than the book. So the way I put it is, you can tell the book was written by a man. You could tell the movie is co-written by a woman. Adele Lim, Emerson
Interesting.
alum, apparently.
Yes.
She came in and she saved that entire script. She saved that entire movie, in my opinion. And so
Damn, I never heard that before. It's usually like the opposite.
It's
where the
always-
book is way better
It's
than
always
the movie.
the opposite, but she really, because I've been following the whole project very closely, I have so much knowledge about the behind the scenes of that movie and like the casting process and stuff like that, because I was watching all the casting announcements. I remember being like, who is Henry Golding? There's so many other men, like Stephen Yeun is right there. Why didn't they pick him? And stuff
Right.
like that. So I watched the interviews. I sobbed my way through the first time I saw it. Boston was, so because they needed this movie to do really well, they were doing this massive press run. And Boston was one of the cities where they sent the cast out across the country to do like influencer screenings or advanced screenings. And Boston was one of the cities picked. And Jimmy O Yang, Gemma Chan, and Kevin
I
Kwan
love Gemma.
came to Boston. And there was a standby line for the plebs to get in after all the influencers. So I was able to get into this advanced screening. And so like the screen was like right here. I had a very bad view of it, the movie.
Oh.
But it didn't matter because
But you were still in there.
I was there. I got to see Gemma. They did the whole like, hi, we're in the movie. Thank you for watching, blah, blah, blah. And it just had such a because the movie like itself is very good, and like the plot is kind of fluffy.
It was.
And like it opened up a whole new discourse in the community about like colorism, classism,
Yes.
the intricacies of like the ethnicity and the monolith of being Asian and stuff like that, which is good for us to have healthy discourse. But also, this movie was really special, and this movie was really special to me. So that's my go-to when I think of it. And then when I was also brainstorming, I feel like I also have to say Mulan, because it's the one that we grew up with. Not in a lot of ways. It is the one we grew up with, and it's what a lot of people, at least in my childhood as a Chinese girl, pointed to, of just like, oh, it's your birthday, so here's the Mulan doll. And I, like, as a kid, I didn't appreciate that. But now as an adult, and I've thought about it more, it is really special. And then just like a shout out to the half of it, the Netflix movie.
Oh, yeah.
That one, it's just a very good movie, and I loved it a lot. And it was able to do a lot without having to be like carry the weight. Other like, it's rep sweats is the term, but it was able to just be itself and be very good without like stirring up everything. Yeah.
Those were good
Yeah.
picks. Those were good
Very
picks.
good picks.
Mine are, I don't even know how many I have, but I'll probably mention like two from the top of my head. But the first one, I don't know why I can't stop thinking about this movie. I stumbled upon it on Netflix. I knew nothing about it. It was just scrolling on Netflix, and it's a Taiwanese movie called Your Name Engraved Heron. And it's a queer love story between two men and set in Taiwan in a private school. And one of them was, like open and was open to the idea of loving this other man. But the other man was, he was victimized by the society's homophobia and toxic masculinity. So it was like, I can't commit to this relationship. But it was just really well done.
Nice.
And I always look at the cinematography of every movie that I watch. I don't know. I feel like it's just the first thing that I judge. Like if it visually looks appealing to me and if it's like well done. And that movie it had a good cinematography on top of the really good story. And I don't know, on top of being Asian, my other identity that I'm really proud of is being queer. So honestly any queer Asian movie, like the half of it, like I'm instantly like in love with it, like it has to be like really bad for me to like not like it. And then the other movie is another queer Asian movie, I think from Taiwan too, I'm pretty sure, and it's Happy Together.
I've heard about that one.
Wong Kar-wai.
Yes, that's why I've heard about that one.
Yes, and it's just like OG, like every filmmaker nowadays copy like the cinematography and like the frame and the shots from that movie. And it's just another story about two queer Asian men in Argentina. They're like lost and trying to figure out life while being abroad, being Asian abroad. They have to deal with the racism and on top of being queer. And it was just another heartbreaking tale between, I don't know, like forbidden love between men. And it was well done. One of the stars is
Tony
shame
Leung?
on me. Yes.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yes. Who was in Shang-Chi.
Yeah.
People know him in Shang-Chi.
Right.
But yeah, it was him.
Yeah.
And he was really good in it.
I feel like the giant elephant in the room that we just completely bypassed, which was directed by two Emersonians, Everything Everywhere All at Once.
Yes.
And it's one of those the reason it wasn't on my list is because I figured we were going to talk about it anyways. It is incredible.
It is incredible.
It just, it came out so recently and it had a big emotional impact for me, but it did not leave the imprint yet that the others did. At least that's why I didn't mention it. I don't know. And also, I just figured we were going to talk about it anyways.
Yeah.
When we say movies, we have to talk about it.
I'm glad you brought up Everything Everywhere All at Once because I also have a lot of friends who are Asian it was a good movie. It was deserving of Best Picture, but they just weren't like, wow, like in love with the movie. Like they weren't left with, I don't know, it was just not what they expected it to be. I love the movie, but it's not my favorite. If that makes sense.
That makes sense.
It is very chaotic and
it's
very
chaotic,
one of a kind that it's hard to even compare it to anything else. So I also was very shocked when I first watched it and I was like, oh my god, like watching it multiple times you pick up different things and it's a lot to take in at once.
Yeah.
So.
I had to see it twice. Once just to see it, and the second time to figure out what was happening and actually like pay attention. Because once you like the first time you see it and everything's explained, but the second time for me when I was like, oh, so I already know what's happening, so I can actually like pay attention, and I cried more the second time when I saw it.
I still have to rewatch it because it's really a lot. You have
so
to
much.
dedicate your time and like really pay attention as to what's happening. And I feel like it's very different because it's the Kwan-sik style. It was very their like signature like filmmaking, and not everyone can be into that. Like the chaotic type, like unconventional type of filmmaking and storytelling. So I mean, good for them though. They definitely opened more doors for the API community. So, but Stephanie was my favorite.
Oh, absolutely.
She's amazing.
I don't know how. No hate for Jamie Lee. No hate. But it was definitely a career award.
It was a career award. And like Stephanie has her entire bright, shining, glorious future ahead of her. So like, should she have gotten it this year? Yes.
Mhm.
She'll get it another time.
At least she was nominated.
Yeah. First
true.
one, there was like 2. She only got 2 noms, which is bananas.
Yes.
Mhm.
And I was glad she got like the top award. You know, she got a nom at the top award ceremony.
Yeah.
Mhm.
But yeah. Well, I forgot to mention, but my third would probably be Parasite. We also didn't talk about it, but that's another
Yeah.
iconic one.
Yeah.
true.
Just wanted to
Um,
mention Parasite.
Yeah, I was about to, and I was like, is it like Asian American? But then at the same time, it made such an impact here still, even
Yeah.
though it's
Mhm.
Korean film with
Yeah.
how it swept in the awards, and yeah, it was just very insane kind of to see, and I feel like it was kind of riding the wave of like Korean like culture, like with K-pop and like the
Hallyu.
movies. Yeah,
Yeah.
Hallyu is very present now, and I think like that definitely pushes
Wait,
forward
what
even
is-
more.
what is
so.
that?
Joyce, you should explain
Uh,
it. You're actually Korean.
Educate me and
Yeah.
everyone else.
I mean, Hallyu is, you mean like, just like the entertainment itself? Like, I guess it's more of like, do you mean like the different aspects of like
Or just define the word.
Yeah.
Hallyu? Yeah, like, I mean, for Hallyu, it's like, the first thing that comes to mind for me is like, there's like so many different avenues of like what Korea's like really well known for. So
Yeah.
like, there's like obviously K-pop with like BTS sweeping,
Right.
and like as well as K-dramas, which is also like getting very huge as
Yeah.
well. It's kind of insane seeing how, yeah, it's kind of like more global now versus
Yeah.
kind of just like within Korea itself and kind of this niche thing. And 10 years ago, I don't think any of us would have imagined how much like that entertainment
Right.
would have been more well known. And so, yeah,
I mean, the first
that's-
K-drama I watched in middle school, or even before middle school maybe, was Boys Over Flowers.
Classic.
Oh, yeah.
Iconic.
But I rewatched it like I think last year I couldn't finish.
Yeah, it didn't
It was
age well.
so
It
cringe.
doesn't age well.
I don't know. I was so obsessed with that series, and then when I rewatched it last year, I could not continue. I
Yeah.
was like, how was I into this?
Yeah.
But I gotta give props to them because
Yeah.
yeah.
It was very good.
Yeah.
But yeah, I Parasite was incredible as a movie, and I don't think we are constrained to talk about specifically just Asian American things. It's
That's
what we
true.
know
Yes.
of, or at least what I'm familiar with, because it's not what I specialize in, but it's my biggest interest. But like, there's a lot to be said about what is Asian and makes it big in America, and what is Asian American.
Yeah.
And you know, they're two different avenues. They intersect a lot, but they have their own nuances.
Well, that's interesting because some people call the month, instead of AAPI, they call it AAAPI Heritage Month, and it stands for Asian, Asian American, Pacific Islander Heritage Month.
Yeah.
Because not everyone in America can, relate to just AAPI Heritage
Right.
Month.
That's
Yeah.
true.
Because not everyone is Asian American, But yeah, that's a good point to bring up. We can move on to the music part. So favorite music
Yeah.
artist. I'm not a huge music person, so I probably
Really?
just
That
have
surprises me.
Yeah, you seem like a music person.
Really?
Yeah.
I don't. No. If you look at my Apple Music playlist, it's all over the place. But since you guys started earlier, I'll start with this one. I would have to pick someone, again, not Asian American, but a Filipino artist, local in the Philippines. Her name is Joyce, and she belongs in this band called MYMP, that stands for Make Your Mama Proud. But she's known for singing the theme songs of our telenovelas, or our version of K-dramas.
Yeah.
And she's known to sing the bops that would play in your
Nice.
favorite series.
Good for her. That is excellent passive income.
Yes,
You
the
have one
royalties.
song that's just
Yeah.
Absolutely. I think she's solo now. She's not in the band anymore, but she has a ton of bops. So check her out if you're watching this. Her name is Joyce. It's Juris.
Juris.
Yeah.
Cool.
And some of her songs are in English too. So it's not all in
Oh.
Tagalog. So you can definitely listen and understand, because yeah, that's the only artist that I can. In terms of Asian Americans, I mentioned this earlier, but Pilo, you guys know who Pilo?
No.
He's a Filipino American rapper. I only know one song about him, so it's like I shouldn't even be talking about him. But Same Squad by Pilo, it played in a Marvel movie. I cannot remember which one.
Nice.
But it did play in a Marvel movie, and when I heard it in the background, I was like, wow, he made it.
Nice.
Yeah.
Cool.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah. Oh, there's another one, Ruby Ibarra.
I was gonna say, if no one has put you on to Ruby Ibarra, that's a hate crime.
No, Shen did. You remember
Really?
Shen? Yeah, Shen put me on Ruby Ibarra, but I haven't like fully listened to everything that she made, or makes. But yeah,
her album. So far, I think she has like some singles and EPs, but her first album, just no skip. It's so good. It's so good.
No, I'm definitely gonna listen to it. Yeah, I should, especially during this month. That's the least I can do for our community. Yeah. But you guys can talk about your faves.
Okay.
I need to go last because I will go for an hour.
Okay. Two come to mind. Well, first off, something I did mention when we were discussing, like, we talked about the questions a little bit last night, was when I was thinking about, like, which, like, AAPI artists am I, like, super into. It's, like, interesting that, growing up, we didn't really grow up with many of them. And then all the ones I'm listing right now got into, like, very recently. And it's just cool to kind of see, like, obviously a more, like, wide range of, like, of these Asian American artists kind of growing in popularity. The first one that comes to mind is MXM Toon. I don't know if you've heard of her before, but she's, like, a indie singer-songwriter type, and she's, like, really big on TikTok right now.
Really?
But also, like, I really like her vibe. She does mainly, like, acoustic stuff, but
that's my genre.
Yes.
Like sad boy
calming.
music, like music that you would listen to when you're on the train, looking
like
out the window. I'm definitely gonna listen to her then.
Yeah, I love her voice. It's, like, very soothing. And I typically tell people, like, also her music is, like, if you have to pick, like, that question where it's like, if you have to pick one artist to, like, be the soundtrack of your life, that it would be her music, I feel like.
Really?
Yeah, like, that's how, like, much I love her music.
Interesting.
And then the second artist that comes to mind is Rina Sawayama. I love her stuff. Yeah,
I knew you were going to mention that.
Yeah.
Because you did dress up as her, right?
Yes.
On your birthday?
For her birthday was MXM Toon.
But then I did dress up, like, for her concert.
Yeah.
Oh, gotcha.
That was really fun, too. I actually think Lily got me hooked onto her stuff because I knew of her, but, like, I only knew, like, a couple songs by her. But then once you started talking more about her and, like, playing more of her stuff, like, she was, like, way ahead of her time. It's just, like, very good.
Ahead of her time.
Yeah. So.
Which she's acting now too, right?
Yes, John Wick. Yeah.
That's where I heard that name from.
Yeah. I need to watch that.
Yeah. So before I get to mine, because I will go for a very long time. Just to Joyce's point, that we didn't really grow up, or at least that I couldn't really think of with a lot of artists. And what really changed that, at least in my awareness, was YouTube and kind of the community that I was talking about before of, like, if you want to talk about Asians and specifically Asian Americans in pop culture, it starts with YouTube. Of, like, Ryan Higa as Niga Higa was huge, and it was from.
I remember at that time. Yep.
Kev Jumba was big for a while, and, like, from that, I started paying attention to, like, Wong Fu Productions, who are huge in the, like, legendary YouTube name, especially among, like, Asian Americans in our age group. Long story short, to the musicians of that early YouTube era of, like, 2010s, whatever, Kina Grannis, David Choi, that's Clara C. Those are who I think of when I think of a lot of, like, early Asian American singers. And they were doing their thing. They're still mostly, I think a lot of them are still out there doing their things. And I think it's from that kind of bubble of, like, our familiarity that 88 Rising can exist. Like, if we're going to talk Asian and Asian American music, we have to talk not just K-pop, we have to talk 88 specifically in the States. Even though I think they started in China. I don't remember. But they've really grown here, and they've become, like, the new cool Asian destination. I have some friends who are like, I don't listen to K-pop, but I'm going to California to see the 88 Head in the Clouds thing, and I'm like, you and I are the same person, different fonts.
Wait, is it an Asian American entity? Like,
so I'm pretty sure, I don't remember, because 88 Rising started, I think it started with a lot of Chinese rappers, which is why I didn't fully get invested. And then they started expanding, and they've worked with a lot of different, like, Rich Brian is one of their big ones, Joji.
I was just gonna mention Joji. I was like, is he Asian? Because I never really like researched everything about Joji, but he is Asian, right?
Yeah, Keshi, Jackson Wang is another big one now, and they've worked with like other artists like BB and Chungha, who are bigger in K-pop and stuff. And I think the way a lot of people are most familiar with 88 is, so Black Panther, Kendrick Lamar put together, or he was in charge of that soundtrack. 88 was in charge of the Shang-Chi soundtrack. So like all of those artists and that whole sound is what 88 Rising sounds like, pretty much. So I think there's a lot to be studied there. There's a lot to talk about. I'm not super invested because I'm not super into like rave bay f-boy scene.
Me too. I'm not.
I see it and kind of respect it from a distance.
Yeah.
But that's just like, if people are looking for that culture or like the influence outside of K-pop, 88 is fascinating. But my one and only that I have to talk about if it gets to music, and I'll try and keep it short, is Eric Nam.
Oh, yes. You're very vocal about Eric Nam.
I adore him. He's a Korean American indie singer, K-pop idol. He does so many things, and why I love him, because one, his music is very good, and two, he's just really uplifts the people around him. He's really good at working with the community, and he's become friends with a lot of American teens who went to Korea to start their careers. So they're all friends with each other. And Eric makes sure, like, or at least he's very good at portraying it. I believe in him. He's very good at making sure his friends don't get left behind. If they're doing a project or if he's doing something, he will bring a friend with him, or like he'll mention it or he'll uplift. And so I think he's just a really good dude, and he's doing a lot of community work that a lot of artists say they're doing. And also his music is just really good. His music is just really good.
I have to listen. Wait, what's the genre? Like,
definitely pop.
Okay.
So I call Shawn Mendes White Eric Nam.
Really? Okay.
The same thing. Charlie Puth, Shawn Mendes.
Yeah.
It's
okay,
that. It's
see.
just a pretty boy who makes good pop music, and that's Eric Nam. And then another shout out to probably my first love in K-pop. Her name's Amber Liu. She was in the K-pop group FX, which has since disbanded. She's done her own solo stuff, but she's also, I gotta say, she's gone through a lot of like controversies and stuff. So like, look her up if you want. I still stand by her and as a fan, because I've watched her since 2012, and I've stayed a fan. So I've watched her like her grow and her career and her like her music and her personality change and stuff like that. But she means a lot to me because she has so K-pop is very effeminate, especially for the women. And Amber is naturally just more masculine, tomboy presenting.
Really?
And like for a while it was a double-edged sword, because that's how she chooses to dress, and then the company forced her to be that way forever. So like, it's a bummer in that way, but it was also the first time I'd ever seen a Chinese girl, a Chinese person, a Chinese singer, pop star, whatever, look like that. And I didn't realize being masculine in that way was also an option, and that's why Amber means a lot to me. Yeah.
Thank you for sharing that. You guys shared a lot of music artists who people should definitely look up and start listening to, and just check them out. You know, these are just a lot of Asian talent that deserves the spotlight.
Yeah.
I mean, all of them already, has some sort of spotlight, but more people should definitely listen.
Yeah.
Including myself. So, but going back to Joji, I was going to mention Joji earlier, but he's my current obsession.
Nice.
As of
nice.
right now. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it's also like kind of like a sad boy music,
Yes.
like almost emo. Like
Yeah.
I don't know.
Don't listen to it in dark. It's really very sad.
Have you seen the music video for The Glimpse of Us?
Yes.
I'm like,
It's kind of
what is
insane.
going on in this video?
Well, he
I
used
was,
to be
like,
a
worried.
YouTuber, and like I don't know if you know his
Really?
persona that he used to have, but it used to be
No.
very that I feel like, and I feel like he brought it back to just as kind of like a tie-in of like this is who I used to be in the
Yeah.
past. But it is
Right.
odd that they would pair
Yeah.
it with that kind of song. Yeah.
No, but he's good. He's good.
Oh,
Yeah, he was very good.
fascinating.
So now that we're done talking about, sort of our fave in the pop culture realm, to wrap things up, let's talk about our hopes for our communities. Yeah, I can start. For me, like the main hope that I have is more diverse representation in entertainment within the API community. I feel like I can name so many East Asian movies that exist in Hollywood, but I can probably only name one Filipino movie, a Filipino American movie, and it's not even good. Like Easter Sunday with Jokoy. It's like,
Oh, I
you know,
forgot
it's
about that one.
yeah, it's not the perfect representation, but it's like it's a start.
Right.
But yeah, I just hope that there's more representation for all API communities, like across the board. Yeah, and definitely like the Asian movies that we know now and that exist now are opening those doors for more diverse representation. So that's probably, I would say, my top hope.
Right.
Yeah.
You took my answer,
Really?
Alfonso.
Yeah.
You
but
can just-
I mean, as like a tack on to that, I
Yeah.
also want to say and this is something I brought up with Lily as well.
Yeah.
Just, I think it's really cool how I feel like that diversity is so well represented in books, and it's something that I'm kind of hoping that like we see in other areas like movies and TV, and that we get a wider rep of not just East Asians, and I do think we made a lot of progress like within the last decade, but then there's so much more, and it's just kind of crazy of just like like there's nearly 50 Asian countries, and like I think most people can only list like a handful, and so
And like
there's still a
myself
lot of
included, like everyone is always educating themselves and learning more and things like that. Sorry, Rita.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Welcome to
We are not a monolith is one of the things that is commonly said and commonly heard every May, because Heritage Month, like again, we were talking before we recorded, the government name of May is Asian and Pacific Islander American Heritage Month. It's APAM, whatever gets you to APAM. So AAPI, not everyone agrees with that. There's Asian American, there's Asian, and Asian American.
Right.
Of course, the ongoing discussion is the erasure of Pacific Islander. How if you're gonna have 50 things, one of them's PI, so that's your token, like that's your pass, so you get to call it PI.
Yeah.
And so I guess my hope for the community, and it's ongoing. We're always having these discussions. Is just maybe not be chronically online with our discussions. So a lot of what I see is siphoned down to Twitter, and in a lot of ways Twitter threads and discourse are very helpful and kind of funny, but that's not conducive, or at least for me, conducive to like education and conversation, because I see like, okay, I understand your point, you made a very good point. I am not reading your 50 tweet thread doctoral thesis of this thing, kind of a thing. And there's just a lot of discourse that is just very chronically online and not very helpful to learn from, or because people get defensive online and things like that. So just, I don't know, I guess my hope is to just have more places and spaces to have really good in-person conversations, or like we're having, and not just, I saw a tweet a long time ago of like every time something goes down in the community, like Asian American Twitter just starts fighting with each other. I think of the scene in Mulan where the ancestors are fighting. And I'm like, that's kind of what it's like logging onto Twitter sometimes every day. So just more space for conversations and less chronically online takes is my hope.
Yeah. Just more conversations and
because they're worth having. It's worth getting into the nitty-gritty of what's going on. Twitter is not the place to do it. Also, I don't think TikTok is the place to do it.
Yeah, social media is a whole other like topic that we can talk for hours about. And it can be toxic for, you know, these specific reasons. So yeah, it's hard. It's, you know, it's a progress. And we just need to like try our best to contribute whatever we can contribute to the conversation and just move forward. Yeah. Well, any last words about the month of May, about AAPI Heritage Month, or however you refer to it? Because that's also a good point. Like, I only knew of the AAPI Heritage Month. I didn't know the others. I didn't even know it was APAM.
No one knows what to call it. Like, that's step one, is like, we don't know what to call this month.
But no, that's another fascinating, like, talking point. Like, what is the month of May?
Right.
Like the month of Asian? I don't know. But, well, thank you both for coming, trooping in the rain and doing a video podcast with me. I enjoy talking to you guys about anything API, especially pop culture. I feel like half of this podcast was about Asian pop culture, which is good. Everyone's interested in Asian pop culture.
And it's the best way to like start learning. You can start from a very easy and accessible place and then really get into the nitty gritty. You were talking about the YouTube singers. There was a Filipino one. I forgot his name. AJ
Raphael.
It's all here. It's all here.
He's good friends with Dante. Dante Basco, who we all met because he came to Emerson. Really?
Yeah.
In person?
Yeah, he's a guest speaker at Anime Boston this year, so we went to go see his panel.
Gotcha. Did he remember you? Did you get to?
No. Also, I was in a costume, so I don't think he would have recognized me at all.
Gotcha.
Also, he must meet so many people. I wasn't.
Thousands. You're right. Well, again, thank you guys. Thank you.
Thank you,
Just
Alfonso.
do a little awkward wave into the camera. All right.
Yay. Thanks,
That was good.